Hello friends, good afternoon. Hi, this is Alok Ojha. Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. We are going through the complete modern Indian history series, and by now we have covered different aspects of modern Indian history. Today's topic is another important topic from the perspective of modern Indian history, and that topic is civil disobedience movement, one of the major movements of the country which was being led by Mahatma Gandhi. There are three major movements led by Mahatma Gandhi in India. Guys, I've said major movements, and these are non-cooperation, civil disobedience movement, and Quit India movement. Apart from this, there are many peasant movements which are also being supported by Mahatma Gandhi. Some of the examples are Kheda Satyagraha and Bardoli Satyagraha. Okay, so without wasting any more time, let me give you a few instructions before I start the session. Guys, many of you have a question in the mind, sir, where to download the PDF of the session from? One can easily download the PDF of the session from my Telegram channel, that is history_Alok Ojha. I repeat, history_Alok Ojha. Apart from this, many aspirants who are new to the platform, let me give you another information. I have already covered Ancient Indian History series on YouTube. Now, in Ancient Indian History series, that will help you a lot, particularly from the prelims perspective. You can go through the series which is available on the StudyIQ English playlist. Okay, here I have covered diversified topic ranging from prehistoric culture, Indus Valley civilization to the Gupta Empire. Okay guys, so today's session would be again of 45 to 50 minute session, probably much less than that. And today's session is important because here we are going to go for a comparative analysis between the non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement. Okay. Now, before we start discussing about the Lahore session, now let me tell you few incidents or few events which are precursor to the Lahore session. Like, at Nagpur session of Indian National Congress held in 1920, presided by Vijay Raghavacharya, the non-cooperation movement was started. Non-cooperation movement became a pan-India movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. The non-cooperation movement was based on twin pillars of Satya and Ahimsa, truth and non-violence. Finally, it is believed that in 1922, non-cooperation movement was being withdrawn by Mahatma Gandhi because of one incident that took place in the Gorakhpur region of Uttar Pradesh. And that incident specifically is Chauri Chaura incidents, wherein there were many peaceful protesters who were protesting in front of liquor shop under the leadership of Bhagwan Ahir. But it is believed that Britishers came up heavily on the peaceful protesters. And finally, the mob or the crowd lost its control and came up heavily on the Britishers. In this incident, 22 policemen lost their lives. Okay? And now M.K. Gandhi took back this movement. This led to formation of one of the most important political parties at that time under Chittaranjan Das ji, C.R. Das ji, and that party is Congress Khilafat Swarajya Party or Swarajya Party, which was later on again merged into the Congress. Then, around 1927 came Simon Commission in India. And the basic purpose of Simon Commission coming to India was to review the working of Montego-Chelmsford reforms. Correct? Now, to review the working of Montego-Chelmsford reform and what further constitutional reforms needs to be brought up in India was the major purpose of Simon Commission coming to India. Wherever the Simon Commission went, it was being heavily criticized. And the black flags were being demonstrated. The slogans were being raised, Simon, go back. And particularly, the major reason for the criticism was the Simon Commission had come in India for constitutional reconstruction, and there was no single Indian member in the commission. All the 7 members of the Simon Commission, including Clement Attlee and many more, everyone were Englishmen. No single Indian member in the commission. In fact, Simon Commission, wherever it went, Calcutta, Bombay, Vijayawada, Pune, Lucknow, Lahore, it was greeted with black flags. After Simon Commission, there came up the Nehru Report and Jinnah's 14-point plan. At that time, Lord Birkenhead, he was a Secretary of State for India. And at that time, the government in England was a conservative government, which actually wanted to delay the process of transfer of power. And they were actually not interested in transferring the powers to Indians. But there was an intense movement going on in the country, wherein the nationalists of all the ranks were demanding that they want to create their own constituent assembly followed by their own constitution. Birkenhead challenged the nationalists of India that before 31st of December 1929, I want the constitution on my table. Now, this act of Lord Birkenhead was being heavily criticized initially in the British Parliament, that specifically you shouldn't give the authority to the Indians to draft their own constitution. But Birkenhead justified that here Indians won't be able to make their constitution because there is internal rivalries between Indians. There is dissenting opinion among the nationalists of all the ranks. Then Motilal Nehru and the secretary Jawaharlal Nehru came up with, particularly Nehru Report. The major objective of the Nehru Report was dominion status for India. But this was being criticized by particularly Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And Muhammad Ali Jinnah particularly came up with 14-point plan. And he said that if these 14 points are not accepted by the Indian National Congress, you cannot expect that you will garner the support of Muslim League in the further coming movements of the Indian National Congress. Finally, the deadline of 31st December 1929 got over. Now comes the Lahore session of 1929. Hope so I have connected the dots so that the aspirants who are new to the platform can easily understand about the further coming events. Okay, now let's understand about the Lahore session, civil disobedience movement, Gandhi-Irwin pact, Khudai Khidmatgar, and Muslim Nationalist Party. Now, Lahore session, particularly, it was held in 1929 and it was presided by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Like as discussed previously, during the demonstrations against the Simon Commission, there emerged two new major leaders of the youth, Subhash Chandra Bose ji and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji. So, the Lahore session of 1929 was being presided by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, for the first time, complete independence or Purna Swaraj resolution was being passed at Lahore session. And on 2nd Jan, the nationalists of all the ranks met on the banks of river Ravi in Lahore. And finally, it is believed that 26 January 1930, Purna Swaraj Day was being observed. The Purna Swaraj resolution was being drafted by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay? At this particular point of time, for the first time, the Indian national flag was being unfurled on the banks of river Ravi in Lahore. So, particularly speaking, guys, I have a question to you. For the first time in India, when was Indian national flag being raised? Any idea, guys? Yes. For the first time, the Indian national flag was raised on Parsi Bagan, what we say square, particularly as a part of Swadeshi movement in 1906 by Surendranath Banerjee. The flag, it had major colors like red, yellow and green. In yellow, there was written Vande Mataram in Devanagari script. One can observe the sun and the crescent moon on the red strip. So particularly, it was raised for the first time by Surendranath Banerjee as a part of Swadeshi movement on Parsi Bagan ground or Parsi Bagan square. Correct? Please answer in the comment section, guys. What is the difference between unfurling the flag and hoisting the flag? Okay? Like, when is the Indian national flag unfurled and when is the Indian national flag hoisted? So, it is correlated to the Republic Day and the Independence Day. So, hope you understood the Lahore session, guys. I'll repeat the Lahore session again within 10 seconds with the crux. In Lahore session, particularly, it was being presided by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The Lahore session was held on the banks of river Ravi, and on 2nd Jan 1930, the nationalists of all ranks decided that Purna Swaraj resolution. Purna Swaraj here means complete independence. No self-government, no dominion status, complete independence along with complete control over defense and finance. Correct? The Purna Swaraj resolution was being drafted by Mahatma Gandhi, and specifically the Jawaharlal Nehru, the president of the Indian National Congress at Lahore, he unfurled the flag of Indian National, unfurled the Indian national flag on the banks of river Ravi at Lahore. Points are clear, guys? Any question, any query, any doubt? You can ask these questions or query in the comment section, guys. Okay? Moving ahead with another important movement of India's freedom struggle, that is civil disobedience movement. Did M.K. Gandhi directly initiate civil disobedience movement? Did Britishers play a very major role in the form of round table conferences? Were Indians sitting with the Britishers for the first time as equal in London as a part of round table conference? Why did Mahatma Gandhi only participate in the second round table conference and boycotted the first and third round table conference? Let's explore these facts. Okay? Civil disobedience movement. Guys, whenever we study history, I particularly believe in one thing, that we need to go for an analytical approach. Correct? And what analytical approach that we need to go for? Like, for example, we studied the non-cooperation movement. But before studying the non-cooperation movement, we tried to correlate the non-cooperation movement with the previous incidents. Correct? Like, directly Mahatma Gandhi did not initiate with non-cooperation movement. He put forward certain demands in front of the Britishers. Like, Britishers, like they had come up with Revolutionary and Anarchical Crime Act, also referred as Rowlatt Act, which was being drafted by Sir Sidney Rowlatt. Under this act, any person could be arrested just on the basis of suspicion without any warrant. Correct? So Mahatma Gandhi launched a nationwide hartal against this. Britishers came up in the form of, specifically there was one of the major incidents that shook the entire nation in the form of Jallianwala Bagh massacre, wherein, as per official records, 370 to 400 people lost their life. But if the firing continued for 15 to 20 minutes and thousands of people were caught under the hails of bullets, so 370 people couldn't have died. Unofficially, more than 1,000 people could have died in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. After which, M.K. Gandhi returned back his Kesare-Hind gold medal and Rabindranath Tagore ji renounced his knighthood. Correct? So before initiating non-cooperation movement, Mahatma Gandhi put forward certain demands in front of the Britishers. First thing is like annulment of the Rowlatt Act. Take back the Rowlatt Act. Be apologetic about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and go for a transparent inquiry into it. Although Britishers had created disorder inquiry committee in the form of Hunter Committee, but it wasn't a fair and a transparent inquiry. So be apologetic about it. Apart from this, we had studied about the Khilafat movement, wherein Britishers had adopted a very different attitude towards Turkey. So Mahatma Gandhi put forward another demand before launching the non-cooperation movement, and that demand was adopt a lenient attitude towards Turkey. Similarly, directly Mahatma Gandhi did not launch civil disobedience movement. So before launching civil disobedience movement, Mahatma Gandhi gave 11-point ultimatum to the Britishers. Now, ultimatum basically means what? Ultimatum basically here, specifically that you have, this is the time limit. And before this time limit, you have to look into these demands. Otherwise, I will start a movement on a massive scale in the country. Ultimatum did not include demand for complete independence, although Purna Swaraj resolution was being drafted. So please make sure, please remember this point. Ultimatum did not include the demand for complete independence. So what are the 11 important points that or 11 important ultimatum given by Mahatma Gandhi on behalf of Indian National Congress to the Britishers? Let's have a look on them. First thing, we are going to look into the important demands. 50% reduction in military expenditure. I'll give you one of the simple examples so that you can correlate things. Like 1914, the World War I started. And approximately it ended around 1919. At this time, when the World War I was initiated, major parts of India was under the grip of famine. The actual, like basically it is believed that commercial agricultural land increased to 93%. And the subsistence agricultural land utilization fell down by 7%. Let's understand this. Okay, guys, fell down by 7%. In this case, what is happening? Britishers are diverting the resources from India to Europe. Because in Europe, the World War I has begun. So already there is shortage of food supply in India and you are diverting that to Britain. Correct? So it will lead to rise of inflation, and country was already facing the problems of famines, inflation, unemployment. Apart from this, in the policy of white racism, racial superiority, what is happening here? Britishers are trying to acquire new colonies. And for acquiring new colonies, they are diverting the resources, particularly the money of India, for military purposes, for military stores, for acquiring new arms and ammunition. That money could have been spent for the welfare of the people in India. Correct? One of the demands, 50% reduction in military expenditure. 50% reduction in expenditure on civil administration. Guys, there were many Europeans who came to India on higher post. Now, these Europeans need to be paid gratuities, pensions, payments, perks, privileges, emoluments, remittances, and so on. And there was a hefty payment of pensions, salaries, perks, and privileges. If more number of Indians were included into the civil services, the amount could have been reduced. This is nothing but again another form of drain. The money is draining out of India. So another important demand was 50% reduction on civil administration. Complete ban on intoxicants. This is also reflected as a part of DPSP in present day constitution. True? Then, release of all political prisoners not guilty of violence. Okay? As I have told you, rather it be the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, or the Quit India movement, two major pillars will remain same: Satya and Ahimsa. Now, what did Britishers used to do? If the people are peacefully protesting, if the Satyagrahis are peacefully protesting, they were being beaten up. They were heavily fined. Their, what we say, property was being confiscated. They were being imprisoned, although they were peacefully protesting. And during the non-cooperation movement, more than 6,000 Satyagrahis were put under the lockup, put inside the lockup. So here Mahatma Gandhi demanded release of all the political prisoners who are not guilty of violence, reforms of Central Intelligence Department, and changes in the Arms Act. As per Arms Act, Indians do not have the authority to keep arms. Only Europeans have the authority to keep arms. And what does law says? Law should be same for everyone, rather it be European or an Englishman or an Indian. Correct? So reforms in the Arms Act, wherein first thing, arms should not be allowed to Europeans, or it should be allowed for everyone. So these are certain general demands. Apart from this, changes in rupee sterling ratio, protection of indigenous textile industry. Guys, if you remember, we had studied as a part of economic impact of British rule in India, we had studied one concept, and that is called as deindustrialization of Indian industries. How in a very methodological manner, how in a very systematic manner, Britishers paralyzed our rural industry. I'll give you a small example. At that time, Indian handicrafts were high in demand in the European markets. I'll give you many examples about this. Like at that time, dhoti and dupatta of Gujarat were quite famous. The saris of Banaras, Chanderi, Maheshwari, Kanchivaram were quite famous. Apart from this, carpets of Lahore, chicken work of Lucknow, and many more things were quite famous. And they were being exported because of high demand in the European markets. What did Britishers do? To paralyze our rural industry, to paralyze our indigenous textile industry, they made a law under which any goods that is exported out of India and imported into India would only be exported and imported on British cargo ships. Apart from this, the duty on these products were being raised. So what happened? Ultimately, the demand of these handicrafts fell drastically. So this is how Britishers paralyzed our rural industry. But when Swadeshi movement was in vogue, what happened? There was revival of Swadeshi textile mills, particularly in the region of Gujarat and Bengal. So, protection of indigenous textile industry and reserve coastal shipping for Indians. Reduce the land revenue by 50%. Guys, we have seen Zamindari system, Rayatwari system, and Mahalwari system. I'll again explain this system within short. Pay attention carefully. In Zamindari system of land revenue, which covered 19% of British India, Zamindar acted as a middleman between the peasant and the company at that time. Okay? Wherein 89% of the revenue went to the company and 11% was kept by Zamindar. Here, Zamindars were being supported by the Britishers and they exploited the peasants a lot. Like I'll give you one of the examples of Pabna. Pabna, it is located in Yusuf Sahib Pargana of East Bengal. And it is known particularly for cultivation of jute, which is a commercial crop. Zamindars here went for abwab. Abwab basically means under Zamindari system, the rent was fixed. Hence, Zamindari system is also referred as permanent settlement. Correct? Which was launched by Lord Cornwallis. The rent was fixed. But what did Zamindar do? They went for abwab. What is abwab? Arbitrary enhancement of the rent. Correct? So Zamindar exploited the peasants a lot. And the land revenue was exorbitant, very high. Under Rayatwari system, under Rayatwari system, company directly collected the revenue from the peasants. And Rayatwari system was basically, it covered 51% of British India. It was majorly implemented in Bombay and Madras Presidency, wherein the company directly collected the revenue from the peasants and the land was classified majorly into three categories, particularly the fertile one, the average one, and the barren one. Can you imagine on barren land? I'm not saying fertile land. On barren land, the tax was approximately around 40 to 45%. On barren land. On average land, the tax was 50 to 55% and 60 to 66% on the specifically the fertile land. So the land revenues were quite exorbitant. Apart from this, there was arbitrary enhancement of the rents by the moneylenders, zamindars, bhagardars, and so on. So another important demand put forward by Mahatma Gandhi was reduction in the land revenue by 50%, abolition of salt tax and government salt monopoly. Guys, the first question that arises in the mind of an aspirant, why did Mahatma Gandhi choose salt as a part of Dandi Yatra or Dandi March? Salt is one of the most important or essential commodity of food. Correct? Apart from the sweet dish, salt is utilized in salt is utilized, or it is the most important ingredient of all the major eatables, apart from the sweets. Correct, guys? So MK Gandhi chose salt. And there was a government salt monopoly wherein there was heavy taxation on the salt. If you remember, like guys, if I ask you a question, who is the youngest martyr of Mother India? Obviously, the answer from your side would be Khudiram Bose ji. Correct? He was 16 to 18 years old when he became the first martyr or the youngest martyr of Mother India. Guys, go through the website of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. You'll come to know one important and astonishing fact. Baji Raut, he is considered as one of the youngest martyrs of Mother India. Baji Raut, there's a beautiful story associated with this. Like Baji Raut, there was a rule, there is a region called as Dhen Canal, particularly in the region of Odisha. And the region of Dhen Canal was being ruled by a Raja at that time, whose name was Raja Pratap Dev Singh. And he imposed heavy taxation on the peasants of Dhen Canal. And he was being supported in this act by the Britishers. So there was a young boy, Baji Raut. Once upon a time, he was sitting for having his food. And he was eating rice. He asked his mother for salt. And his mother denied giving him salt, said that salt is the privilege of the upper class. I cannot afford to buy salt because there's heavy taxation on salt. A very young boy, Baji Raut, just 11 to 12 years old, knew the exploitative character of Pratap Dev Singh and Britishers. So at that time, Prabhat Feris, Praja Mandals were quite active in the region of Odisha. And the peasants of Dhen Canal launched no revenue campaign. And this young boy was an active participant of the Praja Mandal movement. To suppress the movement, Britishers had to come in. And when Britishers came here, they did massacre in one part of the village. And now they were moving towards the other part of the village. When they had to move to the other part of the village, they had to cross a river Brahmani, which is a tributary of river Mahanadi. Correct? And this boy, he was ferrying a boat. The young boy, 11 to 12 years old, knew about the exploitative character of the British rule, and he knew that Britishers have created a massacre in this part of the village and they are going to create a massacre in the other part of the village. He denied ferrying the boat to the Britishers, and finally he was being killed by the Britishers. So Baji Raut, he became the youngest martyr of Mother India at the very young age of 11 or 12 years of old. Correct? So Mahatma Gandhi chose salt for this reason. Now let's understand about the Dandi March or the Dandi Yatra of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, he gave 11-point ultimatum to the Britishers and it fell on deaf ear. Britishers hardly listened to any of the demands of Mahatma Gandhi. Meanwhile, round table conferences has been initiated in London. And Indian National Congress did not attend the first round table conference. For the first time, the Britishers or the Europeans and Indians were sitting as equals. Correct? Now, before launching civil disobedience movement, Mahatma Gandhi launched Dandi March. Now, he launched the Dandi March on 12th March from Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. And he took a vow, he took a pledge that until and unless I get the freedom for India, I won't be returning back to, yes, the Sabarmati Ashram. Finally, he could not attain independence for India after civil disobedience movement. So he settled at Wardha Ashram near Nagpur. So Dandi Yatra was being initiated on 12th March by Mahatma Gandhi from Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. And he initiated this yatra or march along with 78 to 80 satyagrahis. On the very first day of the yatra, he covered approximately around 21 kilometers and reached a village called as Aslali. Here he addressed the crowd of thousands. Now, Sarojini Naidu said that, specifically Sarojini Naidu quoted this, like wherever Mahatma Gandhi went during this entire journey from 12th March to 6th of April, people started joining him. Women were wearing white sari and men were wearing particularly dhoti and kurta, white dhoti and kurta. It seems like a white river is flowing. So by the time he reached on 6th April Dandi, there were many satyagrahis who, accompanied Mahatma Gandhi. Correct? And on his journey to Dandi, he addressed the people a lot. There were many demonstrators who participated along with Mahatma Gandhi against the exploitative character of the British rule. And finally, on 6th April, Mahatma Gandhi reached Dandi. He picked up salt and said, With this, I shake the foundations of British Empire in India. And he insisted the people of India to launch the civil disobedience movement by breaking the salt law wherever possible. He asked the nationalists of all the ranks to give their contributions. Like lawyers, if you're lawyers, you should give up practice. Apart from this, lawyers, you should give up the practice, resign from the nominated seats. Government servants resign from their post. But everything should be based on twin pillars. As discussed earlier, guys, all the major movements of Mahatma Gandhi in India are based on twin pillars of Satya and Ahimsa, truth and non-violence. So Mahatma Gandhi insisted everyone to break the salt law wherever possible. Now, the time is ripe where the movement will become a pan-India movement. In southern part of India, particularly in Madras Presidency, Tamil Nadu, the movement was led by C. Rajagopalachari. In the region of Malabar, the movement was being led by K. Kelappan. So C. Rajagopalachari and K. Kelappan played a very pivotal role in spreading the civil disobedience movement in southern part of India. In Assam, people went for strikes. Mahatma Gandhi now decided to conduct a raid on Darsana salt mill. And when he decided to conduct a raid on Darsana salt mill, it is believed that he was being arrested by the Britishers. And when he was being arrested by the Britishers, this led to riots in different parts of Maharashtra, Solapur particularly, Pune, Ahmednagar, and so on. Finally, the raid on Darsana salt mill was being conducted by Kasturba Gandhi ji and Abbas Tayyab ji. Okay? In Bihar and many parts of northern India, people refused to pay Chaukidari tax. Frontier Gandhi, that is Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, that is the specifically Khudai Khidmatgars or the red shirt or the Surkposh, played a very major role in sensitizing the masses, particularly in the northwestern part of India. Like it is believed that there were many Khudai Khidmatgar protesters who were peacefully protesting against the Britishers. And one battalion of the Britishers, Gadwal Rifle, came here to fire upon the peaceful protesters. When they saw the peaceful protesters, it is believed that the entire Gadwal Rifles, they dropped their arms and they said that we are not going to fire on these peaceful protesters. Finally, an action was being taken against the Gadwal Rifles. So Khudai Khidmatgars, particularly Frontier Gandhi, that is Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, played a very major role in sensitizing the masses in the northwestern part of India. So, in southern, we had seen C. Rajagopalachari. In Malabar, particularly around the region of Kerala, we had seen K. Kelappan. Assam, there was railway strike. Khudai Khidmatgars played a very major role in sensitizing the masses in the northwestern part of India. In the region of Manipur and Nagaland, Rani Gaidinliu, I repeat, Rani Gaidinliu played a very major role, and when she participated in the civil disobedient movement, she was just 13 to 14 years old. Correct? Rani Gaidinliu had also played a very major part as a part of socio-religious reform movement, which is also referred as Heraka movement. Heraka movement was actually being initiated by one of the cousins of Rani Gaidinliu, whose name was Haipo Jadonang. I repeat, whose name was Haipo Jadonang. So apart from being the part of what we say civil disobedience movement, Rani Gaidinliu from the region of Manipur and Nagaland, she played a very pivotal role along with her cousin Haipo Jadonang in Heraka movement. Heraka movement is also referred as Naga Renaissance. You can go through it, guys, once. Okay? So, specifically, what happened here? In central provinces, Andhra, Karnataka, tribals became very active. Shibirams or camps were being launched. Sarojini Naidu also played a very major role during all these movements. Now, particularly, I'll give you one of the example, and I've been telling you about one of the incidents called as Charan Paduka tragedy. Correct? If you remember, guys, I've told you about Mangad tragedy, which is also referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Rajasthan. True? Similarly, there is one incident which is referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Madhya Pradesh. And that event or that incident is particularly referred as Charana Paduka tragedy. Now, what is this tragedy all about? On the insistence of Mahatma Gandhi, particularly in Chhattarpur district of Madhya Pradesh, on the grounds of Charan Paduka, there were few people who were peacefully protesting against the Britishers and breaking the salt law. Now, there was a British agent whose name was Fisher. He came here and he directly opened firing on the peaceful protesters. These peaceful demonstrators or protesters who were protesting against the British yoke, now to save their life, they jumped into the nearby Urmila river. Britishers started shooting guns. They started shooting in the river. Correct? Now what happened? It is believed that many historians have written or quoted this, that a certain stretch of Urmila river had become red due to the bloodshed. And this event, as a part of civil disobedience movement, was referred as Charan Paduka massacre or Charan Paduka tragedy, which is also referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Madhya Pradesh. Now, civil disobedience movement participants were quite active, particularly in the region of Alwar and Kashmir. Like the civil disobedience movement, specifically in the region of Rajasthan, was referred as Mew uprising. Now, why it is referred as Mew uprising? Because Mews are semi-tribal peasants of this place, Rajasthan, particularly around the region of Alwar. Now, the ruler here, Maharaja Jai Singh, he imposed lots of taxes on the Mews. And he was being supported in this act by the Britishers. So, as a part of civil disobedience movement, the Mew, the semi-tribal peasants of Alwar, actively participated against the British rule or the exploitative character of British rule and the Maharaja. Finally, the Maharaja had to go back to Europe. So this was majorly about the civil disobedience movement. And impact of the agitation, women were active participants in the movement. It was the most liberating experience for the women. Students actively participated in the movement. Merchants participated in the movement. But the Muslim participation in this movement was not up to the mark in comparison to the non-cooperation movement. Why there was no significant participation of the Muslim? There are few reasons about this. First thing I'll tell you guys, one important reason. Just we have discussed, and in the previous sessions also we had discussed about the Khilafat movement. In Khilafat movement, it is believed that particularly Khilafat movement was merged with non-cooperation movement by Mahatma Gandhi. But during the entire non-cooperation movement, there was no single step taken against the Turkey, taken against the Britishers for Turkey. Isn't that so? So the Khilafat issue, which was being merged with the non-cooperation movement, it actually got dissipated. Correct? So the now Muslim section, they stayed away from this movement majorly. Apart from this, we had seen about the Jinnah's 14-point plan. Already when Simon Commission came to India, there was dissenting opinion among the Muslim League. In 1927, when Simon Commission came to India, there were two sessions of Muslim League that were held. One was held at Calcutta, other was held at Lahore. The one at Calcutta, it was being presided by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And the one at Lahore, it was being presided by Muhammad Shafi. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he boycotted the section of Muslim League under Muhammad Ali Jinnah, boycotted, yes, the Simon Commission, whereas the section of Muslim League under Muhammad Shafi, they welcomed the Simon Commission. True? So Muslims' participation to an extent was not up to the mark in civil disobedience movement in comparison to the non-cooperation movement. Correct? Tribals actively participated in the region of Maharashtra, Andhra, Karnataka, present-day Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, that is central provinces. And peasants were also active participants in UP, Bihar and Gujarat. Now, initially, government came up heavily on the protesters. But as I've told you, parallelly, round-table conferences were being held in London. First round-table conference had already ended and Indian National Congress did not participate in the first round-table conference. The first round-table conference was being attended by the Muslim League, the liberals of specifically Indian Liberal Party, B.R. Ambedkar, who represented the depressed section of the society or the depressed classes. So these Hindu Mahasabha, participated in the first roundtable conference. Indian National Congress did not participate in the first roundtable conference. So now, Tej Bahadur Sapru and M.R. Zaikar, one of the most important leaders of Hindu Mahasabha, he played a pivotal role wherein they are going to negotiate between the Congress, Indian National Congress, and the British government at that time. And this resulted in the form of Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now, what is Gandhi-Irwin Pact? It is also referred as Delhi Pact. Mahatma Gandhi put forward certain demands in front of the Britishers, which Britishers accepted. And on the other hand, Irwin put forward certain demands in front of Mahatma Gandhi, which Indian National Congress accepted. Now, which were the demands of Mahatma Gandhi which was being accepted by MK Gandhi or Indian National Congress as a part of Gandhi-Irwin Pact? Let's have a look on them. First, immediate release of all the political prisoners not guilty of violence. Apart from this, remission of all the fines not yet collected. Restore the confiscated property. As I have told you right in the start of the session, that those demonstrators or those protesters who were the part of the movement, correct, they were being heavily fined. They were being beaten up in the lockup. Apart from this, their property was being confiscated. So Mahatma Gandhi, on behalf of Indian National Congress, demanded in front of Lord Irwin, the Viceroy at that time, that release all the political prisoners who are not guilty of violence, since the movement is based on ahimsa. Second, restore all the confiscated property if it is not sold to the third party as of yet. Correct? Then, apart from this, whatever fines that have been imposed, revoke that. Right to make salt in the coastal villages. Apart from this, withdrawal of all the emergency ordinances that have been taken at that time by the Viceroy. So these demands were being accepted by Irwin on behalf of MK Gandhi. But there were few demands that was being denied. Public inquiry on the police excess. Why did the movement was being suppressed by the Britishers in such a brutal manner? There should be an impartial inquiry on this. This was one of the demands of Mahatma Gandhi, but this was being denied by Lord Irwin. And commutation of Bhagat Singh and his comrades. For example, when Simon Commission came to India, it was being greeted with black flags throughout India. Bombay, Vijayawada, Pune, Calcutta, Lucknow, Lahore. At Lahore, the protest against Simon Commission was being led by Sher-e Punjab, that is Lala Lajpat Rai ji. And there was huge lathi blows, heavy lathi blows on the chest of Lala Lajpat Rai ji, and he succumbed to death. Bhagat Singh ji, he wanted to avenge the death of Lala Lajpat Rai ji and assassinate the commissioner at that time, whose name was Scott. But mistakenly, he assassinated Saunders, the DSP at that time. And later on, he threw a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly along with Batukeshwar Dattaji. And the purpose of throwing a bomb was not to harm anyone, because the bomb was intentionally, purposely made harmless. And his purpose was to get arrested and use court or trial as a medium to sensitize the masses and raise his voice against the Britishers' yoke. So finally, Bhagat Singh ji was arrested in Saunders' murder case. And when he was being arrested, a trial was conducted against him. And Bhagat Singh ji, Rajguru ji and Sukhdev ji, they became the martyrs of Mother India. They were hanged to death. So Mahatma Gandhi demanded that the death sentence of Bhagat Singh ji should be commuted to life imprisonment. But this was not accepted by Lord Irwin. For this, in Karachi session, Mahatma Gandhi was also being criticized. And what did Indian National Congress accepted? That Indian National Congress will participate in the second roundtable conference. Second roundtable conference, I'll give you a brief synopsis in the coming sessions. In second roundtable conference, when Congress participated, it is believed that many historians do write, like MK Gandhi came back to pavilion on duck. In simple words, he was a representative of Indian National Congress in second roundtable conference, but there couldn't be any major outcome or output of the second roundtable conference. And second thing that he accepted was suspend the civil disobedience movement temporarily, not permanently. Okay, so this was majorly about the Gandhi-Irwin Pact as a part of civil disobedience movement. So guys, This is a comparison between the civil disobedience movement and the non-cooperation movement that we have done or discussed previously. The extent of mass participation. Apart from this, the brutality conducted by the Britishers, number of satyagrahis, participation of students, women, peasants, merchants, and Muslims. So this is a comparison of the non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement. Hope so the points are clear, guys. Yes? Okay. Like in every session, I do ask few questions. Please do answer these questions in the comment section. My first question. Indian National Congress took a call for Swadeshi movement in 1905, presided by, in 1905 session of Indian National Congress, presided by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. This call was taken at which place? In simple words, the session was held at which place? First question. Second major question. The Indian Home Rule League movement or the Home Rule League movement of Annie Besant was based on which philosophy? Correct? Third major question. And that question is particularly related with Muddiman Committee. What was the major objective of Muddiman Committee? Major objective of Muddiman Committee. And my last question to you guys is, as a part of civil disobedience movement, the movement was led in the region of Nagaland and Manipur by whom? Right now we had discussed about her, a very young girl of 13 to 14 years of age. Okay guys, now Muslim Nationalist Party, just a factual information, it was being established by Khalil Khuzaman and Dr. Sheikh Muhammad Alam, correct? And Dr. M.A. Ansari was its president. Okay, so particularly just remember the Muslim Nationalist Party established by Khalil Khuzaman and Sheikh Muhammad Alam. It's just a part of knowledge booster fact. So just remember them. Okay. And Khudai Khidmatgars, as we have studied previously, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, also referred as red shirts or Surkposh. I repeat, red shirt or Surkposh. They also played a very pivotal role in the civil disobedience movement. Correct. So this is all about the Khudai Khidmatgars that we had discussed previously as a part of civil disobedience movement. We haven't skipped it. We have discussed this. And the Muslim Nationalist Party. Hope so the points are clear, guys. Things are clear? Yes? Okay. So guys, the UPSC IAS English Foundation batch has just begun. And it is an evening batch. And there are beautiful features as a part of this batch. Prelims and Mains Residential Program. Apart from this, 11,000 reward to the top 10 monthly performance, to the top monthly performers. Again, if you qualify the prelims, the entire fee would be refunded, and interview guidance program is one of the key features of this batch. So you can avail the benefits of this batch by using the code that is flashing on your screen right now. That is Alok Live. I repeat the code Alok Live. Okay. So guys, hope so. Things you have understood. You have understood the comparative analysis of non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. Okay. So guys, with this, I'll stop my words for the day. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you and have a wonderful day.